thing about self-discipline is that it is necessary for everything you do in your life. You have to be self-disciplined. If discipline is not punishment, it's not. Discipline is training. Discipline is training. If you change your mind, your mindset, and really focus it on what discipline really is, you start to welcome discipline. You welcome self-discipline into your life. So it became, don't say anything about anything. About anything. It was so brutal because it beats you up because you know it's wrong, but you don't know how to get out. You have no clue how to stop this cycle. You don't know what to do. I knew once I started to talk about it, once I started to express it, once I started to put it out, its power would diminish. The only way you're going to beat it is if you talk about it. Let me tell you something. When that egg cracked, and it's like cracking an egg, you can't seal it again. It started pouring, then it cracked all the way around, then you start scrambling eggs. To realize is that success is the warmest place to hide. You have to realize that people can't quantify the fact that, this guy is such a successful producer. How could he do these damaging things? This guy's a world-class athlete. How could he be this way? This guy's a professor and he's so intelligent. How could he do this stuff? This guy is a wonderful politician. How could this happen? Success is the warmest place to hide. You eventually fall. You eventually lose the job. You eventually lose your money. You eventually you are going to take a loss. Now, the most dangerous part about this, though, is because when you become your wins, when you're floating and high and all that, you inevitably have to become your losses. Avoiding temptation is a way of life. By doing one thing differently, you can avoid all kinds of temptation, and it is the key to your self-discipline. If you know you have a problem with donuts, do not go to the donut shop to get your coffee. You know what I mean? Go to a place that doesn't have donuts or something that you know is your vice, that you know you shouldn't do. Another thing, you can be proactive when I say avoiding temptation. If you want to really consistently make the gym a part of your life, set your clothes out for the gym the night before, and it will remove the temptation to not go to the gym. When you wake up, all of a sudden you have your clothes there and you just hop in. One thing that, I can really attribute to every failure in my life, whether it be personal, financial, in any kind of way, business, whatever, it's because of a lack of my attempt to take action. I did not take action. It was just, try it, go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when you get rid of judgment, now you can be creative. But any bit of judgment kills creativity. Anytime you start to go, well, maybe I shouldn't. It's funny because you look at a lip sync or you look at any kind of dancing or anything like that. As soon as people see you being inhibited, you're done. All they want is for you to give all you got. Everybody's with you. You don't know what your future is. You just don't. And that's the thing. It's like, for me, I never would have thought I would be doing this, but I decided to try things. I just decided that I didn't have to do what everyone else said I needed to do. Everyone tells you this would be the best route to do after you're done. Well, I decided to go another way. And people thought I would fail. I gotta get rid of those haters in your mind. And then the judgments that you hear and you accept, you start putting that on other people. The hater tells you, oh man, you can't do that. That's because he's hearing that in his head. You can't lose all that weight. That's because he hasn't lost weight. It's all fear. It's all hate. It's a wild mix. And I just, when I'm talking about that, it's like in your own brain. There are times when I do something so idiotic in front of a group of people just so I can get used to getting away from, you know,
The
like
norm.
fitting in.
Yeah.
Anytime you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt. Look at what you're doing. Examine it. If you're hungry, get something to eat. If you're angry, calm down. Think about where you are. Get yourself in a good mood. If you are lonely, call a friend. Call someone you know. Talk about your things. Talk about your emotion. Talk about how you're feeling. And if you are tired, get some rest, because that is when you're weakest. All of those 4 states of being is when you are at your weakest spot. And it's very, very, very hard to keep self-discipline when you're weak.
If somebody is doing something that is useful to the rest of society, I think that's a good thing. Like, it doesn't have to change the world. Like, you know, if you're doing something that has high value to people, and frankly, even if it's something, if it's like just a little game, or, you know, some improvement in photo sharing or something, if it has a small amount of good for a large number of people, I mean, I think that's fine. Like, stuff doesn't need to be changed the world just to be good.
There's a friend of mine who's got a good saying, which is that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. Okay, that's generally what happens, because when you first start a company, there's lots of optimism and things are great, and then so happiness at first is high. Then you encounter all sorts of issues, and happiness will steadily decline, and then you'll go through a whole world of hurt. And then eventually, if you succeed, and in most cases you will not succeed, and Tesla almost didn't succeed, came very close to failure. Then if you succeed, then after a long time you will finally get back to happy premises. That may seem like a really simple thing to say, but most people don't do that. So it's really the foundation of rational thought.
So we did all that and then failed 3 times. It was tough going. Because the thing about a rocket is that the passing grade is 100%. You don't get to actually test the rocket in the real environment that it's going to be in. So I think the best analogy for rocket engineering is like, if you want to create a really complicated bit of software, you can't run the software as an integrated whole, and you can't run it on the computer it's intended to run on. But the first time you put it all together and run it on that computer, it must run with no bugs. That's basically the essence of it. So we missed the mark there. The first launch, I was picking up bits of rocket near the launch site. It was a bit sad. But we learned with each successive flight, and we're able to, eventually with the 4th flight in 2008, reach orbit.
A lot of times, you know, an entrepreneur will come up with something which is only slightly better, and it can't just be slightly better. It's got to be a lot better.
If we hadn't responded to what people said, then we probably would not have been successful. So it's important to look for things like that and focus on them when you see them, and you correct your prior assumptions.
A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Your friends know what's wrong, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to hurt you. You should take the approach that you're wrong. You know, that you, the entrepreneur, are wrong. Your goal is to be less wrong.
So I don't know what are they afraid of? They're mostly afraid of failure, I think, or
Yeah.
But people should be less risk averse when there's not much at risk. You also need to be able to bring a lot of people together to work with you to create something, because it's very difficult to do something as an individual if it's a significant technology. Creating a company, or if you're joining a company, the most important thing is to attract great people. So either join a group that's amazing, that you really respect, or if you're building a company, you've got to gather great people. I mean, all a company is a group of people that have gathered together to create a product or service. Do everything you can to gather great people, if you're creating a company. How talented and hardworking that group is, and the degree to which they are focused cohesively in a good direction, that will determine the success of the company. It really wasn't from the perspective of what's the rank-ordered best way to make money, which is okay, but it was really what I think is going to most affect the future of humanity. There's no way one could possibly start a rocket company. I wasn't that crazy. But then I thought, well, what is a way to increase NASA's budget? That was actually my initial goal. I tell you, it was very weird going there in late 2001, 2002, going to the Russian rocket forces and saying, I'd like to buy 2 of your biggest rockets, but you can keep the nuke. That's a lot more. They thought I was crazy, but I did have money, so that was okay. And after making several trips to Russia, I came to the conclusion that actually my initial impression was wrong. Because my initial thought was, well, that there's not enough will to explore and expand beyond Earth and have a Mars base and that kind of thing. But I came to the conclusion that was wrong. In fact, there's plenty of will, particularly in the United States, because the United States is a nation of explorers, of people who came here from other parts of the world. I think the United States is really a distillation of the spirit of human exploration.